It's a week of rolls here at NSF. We have quick disconnects rolling at Starbase and at KSC. The crawler transporter is on the roll ahead of Artemis 2, and recovery crews are rolling out for an early return of Crew 11. And also, the Flame Trench intro is about to roll now.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Liquidation.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome everybody to the Flame Trench. This is our weekly news show mixed in with a lot of fun and weirdness and wackiness as we cover some of the things happening in spaceflight from a lighter perspective and discuss everything with you as well. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I am your host for the Flame Trench as Jake leaves the room now. So you can say he was on stream, folks. He was there. But we have a lot, of course, to talk about today. Obviously, we all know what the big story is, but we need the big guns to talk about the big stories. So joining me today on the Flame Trench is our team out at the Kennedy Space Center, who you may have just seen live a couple of minutes ago, including Max Evans. How's it going, Max?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, it's like deja vu. It's almost like we were just here and
muted?
I was just here. Oh, I am muted. I was muted. Talking while muted. Great start. But hey, everybody. Yeah, it's almost like deja vu, where we were just here talking about Falcon 9 rocket launch, and now we're about to talk about maybe one more rocket launching and some other stuff. We're back.
And some other stuff. We are back indeed. And also joining us from KSC is D Wise. D, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. We had that rocket launch. I'm actually the whole other side of the press site. Maybe I can shout to Max and he'll be able to hear me. But yeah, there is a lot to talk about today and that major story that we've had. So I don't know. It's
by the way,
good to be here.
For people saying he wasn't muted to you guys, he was muted to us. That's probably why. So I just wanted to make sure. But that's why. And yeah, so obviously a lot to talk about. But also, could you guys have maybe picked different green screen backgrounds? They look way too similar.
I know. It's you know what, Sawyer? It's one just gargantuan green screen that stretches like a quarter mile that way. That's all it is.
I've got a mobile launcher in mine. It's a bit off to the side in this cropping, but you can see a mobile launcher in mine. Mine's different.
Okay. See, Max, do better next time then.
I mean, it's literally right there. It's literally this far out of frame, but it is there.
Anyway, EJ lost his voice a bit today, so unfortunately, we wish EJ to get his voice back because I'm sure he has a lot to say.
Or not, because his voice is gone.
Well, true, yes. And Kevin Michael Reed is the one pushing the buttons and pulling the levers today, so thank you, Kevin, for that. Now, we have obviously a major topic to start off with here, and that is Crew 11. The 4 astronauts, or 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut technically, are set to return back to Earth soon following an on-orbit medical situation. It was a non-emergent medical situation, as NASA's chief medical officer put it. So it's not an emergency, but Jared Isaacman did point out in his comments after a press conference yesterday that it was something quote-unquote serious. They did not say who it was because of medical privacy reasons. We'll discuss that in a little bit because there's some interesting information that's come out today. But they have not officially said who it was, what the injury was, what the illness, whatever it may be, was. What they did state was that this was not related to the spacewalk that they were about to perform when this all occurred. Also, not an injury related to the operational environment. But they did say, out of an abundance of caution, of course, they want to bring the crew member back. They have stuff on orbit, and I want to talk about that as we go on today, too, of some of the medical stuff that's there. But, of course, they want to be able to do a full checkup, a full checkout of the crew member, and they only have limited ways of doing that on board the ISS. They have plenty more ways of doing that back down here on Earth. So the easiest way to do that is to bring them back. And we've been tracking all of those recovery assets. They are making their way out west, at least the recovery helicopters. And of course, Shannon, the recovery vessel, we have been tracking in the port of Long Beach, waiting for that to start heading out as we wait for an indicated date of when they will come back and splash down. So a lot that we're tracking, a lot that is still active. This is indeed, as the news reporters like to say, it's a very active situation that we are continuing to follow here. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I mean, Dee, I was impressed with the response that we got from this. And I think that seemed to be the general consensus of they were right to the point in that press conference yesterday. They've been pretty open about this.
Yeah, they really... I think the communication that they've given us so far, while they haven't been able to obviously go into details about who it is, the injury, that sort of stuff, that makes sense. But from the very get-go, they have been giving a lot of communication. They were clear with the first part when they were delaying the EVA or postponing the EVA. And then it was just later that night when we got another press release saying that they were evaluating all options, including the potential early return of Crew 11. And the very fact that they would say that in a press release, you know that that had to be a top consideration very early. They're not going to speculate about an early return if it's a maybe. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had already mostly made up their decision by that point. And then, of course, yesterday we had that press conference. And right at the top of the press conference, they said they were looking at that early return. And I think specifically we heard that within 48 hours from that press conference, we would have more information about when that would happen. So at this point, within the next 24 hours, we should be expecting to hear maybe when that return is going to happen. And like you said, they aren't... this isn't an emergency return. They aren't scrambling. They, of course, could return far faster if truly needed. They would be able to, in a matter of hours, be down on Earth. But it just made sense to return earlier. And so they're preparing all the assets. We saw Shannon and the small boats moving around in the port of Long Beach. Like you said, we also saw the helicopter, which flew out of Dallas. It made a stop in Midland to refuel, flew over to Tucson overnight, and then it has also made its way over to the Long Beach airport. So those assets are all gathering together. And hopefully we will get that solid information on when that return is happening, when that splashdown is happening. And, you know, if it was because it isn't any emergency return, I think we can expect that West Coast splashdown, those locations they've moved to as a result of the changes with Dragon recently.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame. Again, the East Coast recoveries are gone. Everything is moved out to West Coast. They haven't said which one, but they did point out that they are going to stick to their regularly pre-planned splashdown sites, back to your regularly scheduled splashdown programming. To the different parts off of California there. So they're not rushing it. They could. I mean, they could have come back in a matter of like 3 hours or so. And they decided not to. It's not that serious, but it's still serious enough, obviously, that they want to bring people back down. And Max, of course, you were joining us for the live coverage that we did of this yesterday. I mean, it seems like they're doing the right things so far. And I'm wondering your take on all of this.
I mean, they were very confident in their decision, and we heard Jared talk about it yesterday. They got right to their point. I don't have really any sort of reservations about what they chose to do, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, there's only so much information that we see on the public side versus what actually happens behind closed doors, and especially with it being a medical situation. So just with the information that we do have, and with the confidence that the leadership had in making that call, I'm just thankful that we have our current leaders in place to have made that call when they did, and that the crew member is currently stable and able to come back in a not emergent scenario. So the fact that this is proceeding as it normally would for a normal return is also inspires confidence in the whole ordeal. But I think you and D covered all of it. I think this is turning out as good as it possibly can be, and this could have been way worse. And I think it's also a stark reminder that at the end of the day, we all are just in fact human beings, and things can just happen to us, whether it be medical or otherwise. And astronauts obviously are no exception, being 200 plus miles into orbit and traveling at 17,500 miles an hour aboard the International Space Station. So I'm just thankful that all the puzzle pieces were in place when this happened, and that everything is currently proceeding as it should be. But I'm eager to find out what other information NASA is going to be calling out or releasing in the next 24 hours or so.
So one of the things they were saying was also like they were evaluating the potential moving of Crew 12 to be earlier, and that they would have made this call regardless of what time in the mission this had taken place. So I mean, I think all of us feel pretty good about the fact that they made the right decision for the astronauts, for the astronaut affected here, to make sure that they get the care that is needed.
Exactly. Now, D, you brought up an interesting link. For those who don't know, D was behind the scenes giving us links and everything while we were on the air yesterday. Super helpful, so thank you for that, D.
Of course.
You found a really interesting document that NASA put out, and I want to go over some of it too, which, by the way, while we're doing all this, I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, you could tag us at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we can. And it's a report that came out, not planned, this came out 3 days ago now, January 6th, 2026. And it kind of goes over the whole medical situation on board the ISS, their medications, their packages. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily think about in space, because of course you can send medication up there, but what about different air composition and increased radioactive exposure? Does that affect the lifespan that these medications have? And so there was an experiment going on where they sent up some medications in addition to medications that they have for crew use. They sent up medications to, my understanding is, understand degradation over time. So they had at least one study that started in 2016 that was originally flown for 550 days to determine how effective that medication continued to be. And I mean, it's a range of medications, from the aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofens, those sorts of headache medications, even melatonin. Maybe astronauts need help falling asleep occasionally. And so they're studying the effectiveness over time and even potentially beyond its expiration dates originally, and just making sure that they're able to keep track of all the different medications that they have on board, make sure that those medications are good so that they can replenish them, and they can cycle those out. And so some of these, like the aspirin you can see there, it went down to 96% effective, is my understanding of this, over that 550-day period. And others were sitting right up there at the 100%. And so that degradation, it's really good that they have that understanding of it. Now, Sawyer, I think you have a wider understanding of the full like breadth of medications that are on the ISS, because they can't have everything there. They're
Right.
having to prepare for the most likely symptoms astronauts would be affected by, but you can't have everything. So
Right. In fact, Kevin, if you go to page 18, if you don't mind me backseat producing here for a second, of that document, they have what is in the ISS medication kit. There are 9 individual packs with medications and supplies, and they're broken up into these different categories here. So you see emergency medical, convenience medical, aura medical, topical and injectable medical, diagnostic, minor treatment, medical supply, IV supplies, physician equipment packs. So these are the majority of the medications that they have on the ISS in those different kits. Of course, you've got everything from basic topicals like bacitracin, oral things like, as you mentioned, aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen slash, what do they call it in the UK? They call it something different instead of acetaminophen. Paracetamol, that's what it is. Motrin, things like that. You've got a whole bunch of antibiotics in there. Amoxicillin, azithromycin, levofloxacin, Levaquin in there. They've got things to help with anxiety, it looks like, lorazepam and sertraline. Don't ask how I know all of these medicines, not that I've taken almost all of these. Again, a lot of antibiotics in there. Topical injectables. There's one that we saw that was used for the blood clot that we believe was Serena Aron Chancellor a while back, so you could see that. A lot of ointments. They even have ketamine up there, it looks like, from the viewpoint there. They've got things to help clear their nose. So that's just some of the medications that you see. And if we scroll up to page 12, there's something really interesting here. And this is a sample of medical conditions identified during spaceflight. So from my understanding, the little box right below this has the actual medical conditions that have been identified during spaceflight before. So these are things that they have seen on the ISS in terms of spaceflight injuries. So we're talking things like arthritis, we're talking, you lose a fingernail because of the toughness of the EVA, the spacewalk gloves, hand injuries as a result of that. But you can also see sprains, stress fractures, hematomas is a little bit of an issue there. Problems with their vertebrae, which of course they stretch as you're in microgravity. But then you've got things like bacterial skin infections, which honestly the ISS in 25 years has never been cleaned. So I'm sure it's a cesspool of bacteria and stuff up there. It's probably gross. You have shingles, you've got chemical burns. So all of these are things that happen that we don't even hear about. They are just so trained on how to do this. Every crew gets trained on all of these medical things, what to do, how to deal with them. So these are considered, I guess, some of the less serious. If these have been up there, sample medical conditions that have happened, and you see the list of medications, many of which can treat things like this, or at least calm down the symptoms. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on reading that list of, hey, here's some of the things that have happened on the ISS that we haven't really heard about, but yeah, all the medical stuff that still goes on.
I mean, it really shows you just how much actually can happen on orbit, even though we don't really hear about it. I mean, people have been up there continuously for 25 years, right? So it's safe to say, given the amount of activity that happens both on the inside and the outside, especially with the daily exercise routine part of the program, that it's not the most unlikely stuff or occurrence for this to happen for someone to have something come up, whether it be an injury, an illness, or something. Again, we're all human, and despite the fact that the astronauts go through a 2-week quarantine period before liftoff and launching to the space station, it's not foolproof, right? It's just about minimizing the risk as much as possible. It's never an absolute zero in that there will never be anything happen or be brought up. It's just not possible. So a lot happens behind the scenes that we just don't see. It's kind of fascinating, but also kind of, I think worrying is the wrong word, but it's enlightening, I guess could be said.
Yeah, and they've got so much going on the ISS. We see that list there, and one of the things they also mentioned during the press conference yesterday is that they've done simulations, a Monte Carlo simulation, and their analysis there suggested that once every 3 years they would have to have an evac. And so the fact that it has been this long, and this is the first one that we're seeing for a medical reason, this early return from the ISS. That goes to show how, I mean, how well trained the astronauts are, how well that they're able to handle stuff even while they're in space. And, you know, it's nice that they're able to perform these when it is needed. Yeah, how healthy they are, Kevin saying in the back channel. Yeah, that's very important.
Oh yeah, I mean that's part of being selected to be an astronaut is that being healthy, having that training. Because yeah, we've seen that can be issues in the past with Soviet programs. In fact, that was one of the only times that a crew member has returned back to space or to Earth from space early. It's only been twice. One of them was a crew member that experienced a heart condition on one of the military space stations, and then the other one was someone who actually had a prostate infection that they never told ground about before launch. So they launched to space to, I believe this was Salyut 7, and we're like, yeah, everything's fine, I'm totally okay, and then all of a sudden started getting fevers and chills and aches, and the stuff on board Salyut at the time wasn't really treating it, and they're like, yeah, you're not spending 6 months, you're only spending 2, you're coming back early. And yeah, it didn't really fly again when you don't tell people about pre-existing medical conditions. That's why there are doctors on the ground that treat them before, during, and after. They have all these, again, the PMCs, the private medical conferences, to make sure that you're still doing okay and to address anything that comes up. So yeah, if you're flying to space, tell people about your medical conditions first. It's like those U.S. Medical commercials. Tell your doctor if you experience.
Yeah, and it's also unique because your body behaves very, very differently in microgravity than compared to being in 1G down here on the surface of Earth. In microgravity, obviously you're floating, and because you're floating and in 0G, the fluid in your body behaves way differently, whether it be the blood in your blood vessels, whether it be any acids or just any other fluids in your body behave way differently. And that's why in photos you see of crew members on board the space station for a while, their head looks kind of puffy and big. That's because they experience what's called a fluid shift, which is where a lot of the fluids on their body kind of shift towards their head. And so throughout their entire experience on the space station, it feels like they're living with a sort of like head cold or like stuffiness for almost the whole time. And not just with your head as well, but maybe that shift affects how your body handles certain illnesses or certain injuries in terms of time for recovery or other things. So, I think it's worth mentioning as well that obviously your body is not meant to be in zero gravity. Like that's not any environment that it was meant to adapt to back when humans like first came to be. So having the ability to adapt to that is something unique, and also something that a lot of astronauts actually do kind of struggle with. I mean, there are some that never get space sickness, or some that have that space sickness for maybe 2 to 4 days after first getting into space, and then they're fine after that once their body adapts. But there are some astronauts out there that have, or where that doesn't go away, and where they're pretty ill for almost the entire time they're up there, but they just hide it very well, or they're able to work around it as much as they possibly can with the ground. Everyone's different, and everyone's body behaves differently. So it's also tough to say like how or who it will affect beforehand as well, before you even launch. I mean, there are some procedures you can do to try and find out, whether it be in like the vomit comet or trying to simulate zero gravity, but there's only so much you can do before you actually get into orbit and be in that constant state of free fall in 0G. So it's a very unique environment, I think it's safe to say, obviously.
But there are things they do on the ground. You can see the footage right there. This was from the Crew 11 training reel that NASA released before launch. This is the teams working on how to deal with medical situations on the ISS, including how to do CPR in space even, as you can see there. That's not saying that's what they did. I'm just pointing that out. This is just training footage of what it's like, of the medical things that they train for. And they pointed out in that press conference yesterday that every single crew goes through this medical training before they launch. They are trained to deal with all of these medical scenarios, whatever it may be, as a crew. Because obviously there's no other doctors up there except for your crew members. So what you're seeing there is what they practice on the ground in the event that something like this does come up. And again, want to point out what you're seeing there is not representative of what happened. This is just training footage. I just want to be very clear on all of this because we don't know exactly what the condition was. We don't exactly know which astronaut was affected. All of this is still, up in the air. So I just want to make sure that we're emphasizing that. Here's a question from Calvini and Max. We were talking about this actually after the broadcast yesterday. They're saying, do you think that they can do X-rays in space?
Well, prior to a recently crewed mission that flew recently, I don't believe it's been done, or if it has been done, I'm not aware of it. But one of the bigger points of conversation with the From 2 mission, which launched in the first half of last year, was they were able to use an X-ray machine of sorts in orbit, which is, I believe, a first, and also is a great breakthrough in terms of what they're able to do on orbit if something were to happen either on an EVA or if the spacecraft goes through something and, God forbid, somebody breaks a bone or requires an X-ray. So it was awesome to see, and I think that was one of the many selling points of the From 2 mission was this one in particular. So I think you are more well versed on talking about the X-ray itself, Sawyer. I just know that it was a big part of the From 2 mission, which also was the first crew launch to fly into a polar orbit from Florida.
I think Dee actually has the info on this one.
Oh,
yeah, just a bit. So part of the nice thing about some of the private astronaut missions is that all of them so far have put science still as a major part of it. And so there, at the top of the page, that's actually the first X-ray taken in space. So that happened on April 2nd of last year. So it's less than a year old that they have gotten the first X-ray in space. And as part of it, they were partnering with the Mayo Clinic, MIT, Min X-ray, KA Imaging. A whole bunch of groups came together and they all worked to run an X-ray in space, because that's not necessarily something that the space station would have launched with 20 years ago. And it's not like, who knows, would they spend part of their mass budget sending up an X-ray to the ISS if it's not been tested? But now one's been tested and perhaps it's useful. And part of those looking at the conditions before, one of the things you noted was, I believe there was one about potential fractures, and that is one of the places that having this X-ray could be quite helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe with all the spaceflight experience that we have that we only did the first ever in-space X-ray last year in 2025. But, I mean, that's the advancements that we're making already and things that we'll need, obviously, as we go outward to the moon and Mars and beyond. But I just find that fascinating. Someone also actually asked after the event yesterday of, what about an MRI in space? Open up a new tab and Google what an MRI looks like without the case on top of it. And just see how fast that thing spins and how dangerous it is looking. And then put that inside a space station. Centripetal force is a thing, even in microgravity, I believe. So, yeah, if you've never seen what an MRI looks like without the protective cover, you may never want to get an MRI after that. I'm just going to point that out.
You have to think about,
kind of alarming.
So many satellites use these reaction wheels. How much those reaction wheels would have to spin to counteract the spin of the MRI and then de-spin. Maybe there'll be creative ways to do multi-angle X-rays of sorts to do that in the future, but the first step is, of course, getting that X-ray, which happened last year, and furthering the ability to perform medical observation and understanding in the environment of microgravity.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we need. And That's what it's going to come down to. Resistojet. Hi, Jake. Do you want to read Resistojet's question? Okay, I will then. Saying, do you think that this situation could influence new protocols for astronauts and updates or changes to the medical equipment on board ISS and also for future space missions? I mean, I feel like since this is weirdly the first time this has happened in 25 years, I feel like they're going to obviously learn something from it.
I think there always is, but I think one of the points worth noting is that all of the actual pieces that had to be in place to allow this to happen already were, and for how fast this actual medical experience came on and how quickly that they were able to make this decision, I think was telltale enough that they already had a bunch of pieces in place if this was to happen, and they had a plan. They had a backup plan. So I think. Also on that, I think the fact that it was timed, this couldn't have been timed better with the crew being scheduled to come back to Earth regardless anyway, mid next month after the launch of Crew 12, which is currently slated for February 15th, I believe. So they wouldn't have had much longer in orbit anyway, but this came on fast and it didn't happen because of EVA prep. So because this happened fast, this whole thing it started fast, and they also came to this conclusion very fast as well. So safe to say there was no panic, and there never can be in a spot like this. There has to be a plan in place. You have to go right into your training, which of course Kimia, who was the one who made the call down to Houston first, made, and they went right into their training, and obviously they now have the spot to come home. So.
Yeah, and speaking of the on-orbit operations, I do want to point out, for those who don't know, they put out updates from the International Space Station on their blog of what the crew is actually doing. And we did get one for today, for January 9th, 2026. And I just find this interesting. I'm not going to say that this decides who the crew member was, but it is interesting to note who is and isn't included in this. I'll just say that. So they've talked about, obviously, what we've just been talking about, moving up the whole date, and that they'll come back. Zena Cardman worked on a pair of spacesuits inside the Quest airlock, helped clean and flush them. Kamiya Yui wrapped up his shift by swapping sample cassettes holding protein crystal samples, of which NASA flight engineer Chris Williams photographed. Oleg Platonov explored vascular health while wearing chest electrodes and blood pressure cuffs on his arms, wrists, and fingers. And then you had the two Sergeys over on the Russian side continuing testing artificial intelligence as a way to transcribe audio files, document daily crew activities. That's 7 of 8 people. 6 of 7 people. I can math. There's a name that was left out there other than just mentioning that they will be returning with the other 4, and that is astronaut Mike Fink, who is almost 500 days in space, I believe, is about 58 years old, and was originally supposed to fly on Starliner 1, which, could you imagine if Starliner could launch sooner and come to the rescue for these crew members?
I mean, to be fair, also in that circumstance, there isn't currently a docking port open on the space station. Both are currently occupied by Dragon. So, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but it's just kind of funny that after all of this, it's like, hey, could you imagine if this crew had to come back early? Maybe Starliner could be moved up, even though they're currently stacking Vulcan right now, currently for the next flight. Just saying. But yeah, there's a conveniently a name missing there, and Mike Fink, of what they were doing during this day. Again, I want to point out this doesn't state that's exactly who it is. It's just interesting to note. Also interesting to note, before we get to more questions about this, because there's some really good questions, I need to thank some people here, because we had Spycotic with a 200-pound tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Even going the extra step to do it as a tip as opposed to through a super chat. Thank you so much for that. And they said, appreciate the information and entertaining work you guys do, giving me my spaceflight fix. We are beyond happy to do it. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. I mean, we can't do what we do without you. That's why we're able to have our team you see next to me here at the Cape covering a launch and then quickly turning around and going onto the flame trench and all this after the emergency conference yesterday. So I mean, thank you. Beyond thank you. Also, Crafty Geek with a $100 tip to the tips page as well. And Kevin, this is for you. Thanks to Kevin Michael Reed, all three hosts of yesterday's press conference coverage, and everyone behind the scenes being able to go live for pre- and post-conference commentary and coverage, all on such short notice. Happy to support a team that can respond so rapidly to breaking news.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome.
Hey.
I mean, that's as much as we like to joke and laugh and all these things around here, we're a news organization. NSF, we are journalists when it comes down to the heart of it. So yes, we love to have fun here on the Flame Trench and we get goofy and we go way off the rails. But when it comes time for serious news, we stay on those rails because that's what we're built on. That's what we're here for. And we hope that you come to trust us for reliable news and reliable sources and commentary in addition to whatever this show is. So thank you. Also, Sailing, thank you for becoming a Launch Director member, one of the highest levels of support here, getting access, of course, to the Discord with the pre- and post-show for the Flame Trench, as well as all of our NSF lives, also getting access to your name at the end of the Flame Trench and those NSF lives. So thank you very much for that. Greg Baker becoming a Pad Rat member, Cooper becoming a Red Team member, S'more becoming a Pad Rat member, and Drew Nar coming in saying might have been a bad corned beef sandwich.
Oh no.
Very clever.
I mean, that
Yeah.
would have gone bad a long time ago if that was the case, to be fair, but
Yeah, that is true. For those who don't know, there was a certain Gemini mission where a certain amazing astronaut who unfortunately lost his life on Apollo 1 brought up a corned beef sandwich in his pocket and figured, oh, I'll sneak it on, and then ate it in space. And that's when they very quickly realized this is why you don't bring bread into space or things that create lots and lots of teeny tiny crumbs in a small capsule.
in microgravity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why if you ever watch like when Chris Hadfield did his thing of, oh, here's how we make food in space, you'll notice it was all tortillas.
Yeah.
It was not bread because they're a lot less crumbly. Jim Yoder saying, I expect this will provoke large dedicated medical modules on future large space stations, potentially orbital reef, moon bases, and Mars ships and bases. I mean, again, I feel like that's things that they prepare for anyway. But I mean, do you think that they're going to be more equipped for it, or do you think they might use these last ISS years as a way to practice more, medical things in space now?
I mean, there's always a plan if something happens, and surely that was the case going into the design of the space station throughout the many phases it's had as it gained more and more modules into what it's become today. And every lesson learned up to this point is something to be put forward for a future station, whether it be like Vast's Haven 2, which is their multi-module setup, Axiom Space Station, or if others want to go down that route as well. There's always going to be an area specifically for that if something was to happen to a crew member and they had to have their own area. I'm sure that's part of their procedures. But having a bespoke module for that would be like its own little hospital. And maybe once we have like a larger like space hotel, if you will, and seeing more and more people coming up and going down, could be a possibility. But I think given the current designs and how small they are and how little traffic they see relative to here on the ground, I think a bespoke module itself might be stretching a bit far now, because as we know with any payload, weight and space are everything, especially when launching on a rocket. So at some point for sure, but I think right now, I mean, Haven 2 might. I'm honestly, I don't know. This is all speculative, but maybe at some point.
Maybe at some point, yeah. We'll see what they end up doing with that. Also, I don't know why, but in my head, for some reason, my brain went, yeah, I'm up massing what you're down massing, as in I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Oh my god.
Because there's more people come up and having to come. I don't know. I don't know why my brain went there. I don't know why my brain went there, but I'm up massing what you're down massed. Let's see. Also, Turtle Sanctuary coming in here. Jimmy Yoder also with another one first saying, beyond Leo, we need the ability to do full testing write-ups, scans, and even surgery without returning to Earth. Space colonization will depend on it. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's going to change when you go somewhere further out, like towards Mars, where you can't really just say, hey, we need to come down in 3 hours or in, 4 or 5 days when you've got years as a window to deal with. But
Also very true. You can't just turn around and come back to Earth when you're already 80% the way to Mars. That's not how that's going to work. Nor if you're on the surface of Mars, you can't just come back to Earth. So definitely going forward, 100%.
Yeah. Turtle Sanctuary also saying, what's up, Doc? And Fluffy saying, corned beef sandwiches has nothing to do with EJ tweeting at a certain NASA administrator this week.
Oh, that's right. That happened.
Wait, what?
Did you not know about this?
No.
So a report came out about NASA's spending on their approved budget, and there was a typo regarding the Space Launch System, and that was the Space Lunch System. And EJ made a point of that on a post on X, and then Jared Isaacman, who's the current NASA administrator, I think commented something along the lines of corned beef sandwiches only. It was kind of funny.
Oh, I didn't see his reply. I know I replied asking if Sophie tastes like oranges then. Anyway.
I don't want to taste Sophie.
I don't want to taste Sophie either. No, thank you.
No?
No. Why
it looks so yummy.
Once. I would want to taste it once and never again, I think.
I mean,
but we joke
you can
about
taste
licking the
anything
Frosty
once.
Rockets, right?
You can taste anything once, whether or not you live through the experience. That's up to what you ate, but
I know it's terrible. It's not good for you. It's chemicals. It's nasty. But I mean, it just looks so soft and squishy and orange, and you can just lick it. And I wonder if it tastes. The snozberries taste like snozberries.
I think Sawyer's gone crazy. I think he's gone mad.
I would agree.
I mean, that's been long established, but I think more so right now than usual. Here's a question from DMHMT with a good point, saying, was wondering about the transition. They usually do a handoff between crews, right? Wonder if they'll do that on land before Crew 12 heads up, or they'll be without being able to show them things on site. I mean, Deed, what do you think? Do you think they'll have to do a ground handoff, or is it more just going to be the crew that's up there?
I think that it'll just be the crew that's up there. I mean, in the document that we talked about, what each of the crew members were doing, there were some things that certainly seemed like they are very much preparing the space station to have just a couple less people for a bit, and once Crew 12 makes its way up, they'll do that handoff with the existing 3 crew members. That is what would make sense to me.
I mean, yeah, especially because the whole point is, hey, when they do the handovers, let me show you around. Let me show you where all of these emergency things that you plan for are on the ground, where all of the fire extinguishers are. Here's where all the different experiments are. Here's the experiments I've been working on, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that in the simulators they have in Houston.
Yeah, probably not. But again, that's why there's at least still an American crew member up there. That's why we have that partnership, at least still with Russia for the Soyuz, is that we have Chris Williams up there, which I feel bad for him a bit because now that means that Chris is going to be manning the entire U.S. side of the space station, basically all of the U.S. labs, all the U.S. experiments. I believe that's including the ones for Columbus and for Kibo because they're technically on the U.S. side, even though it's ESA and JAXA. It's going to be busy.
Yeah, I think that's actually the first time that's happened since before like the Dragon era. I know that was a thing between swapping crews with Soyuz, and that one would come up and one would go down. And if there was only one astronaut on Soyuz, he or she would have that entire part of the station to themselves. Scott Kelly went over that in his book Endurance about how he really didn't like being up there by himself. I think he was up there for 3 or 4 months by himself before he was relieved. Or had company. So I think this might be, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody please fact check me on this, but I think this is the first time that this has happened since Dragon has been launching to the space station. I think so. I mean, in the early days, I believe there were times where they did handoffs where there wasn't an exact overlap between one mission to the next. So that's always possible. But yeah, I mean,
it's unprecedented to have that back again. And also keep in mind, even compared to, say, what was that? Let's say before the 2020s, 6-7 years ago, there was, I hate myself already. I threw myself off with that dumb meme.
We're waiting. What is it?
There were fewer experiments. Things have expanded a lot more. Once they knew there were going to be more crew on board, they were able to expand it, have more experiments on board, more things active, more crew working on it. So less crew, more experiments mean a lot busy.
Your what hurts?
I'm struggling here, okay?
If there's a joke in there, I that may have gone like right over my head. I don't know.
No, it wasn't a joke. I accidentally said the two numbers.
Oh.
I swear it was not planned.
Oh.
I was talking about 2019 or 2020, which was X to X number of years ago. That's why.
There it is. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was mad at myself. So anyway, yeah. Well, my brain just Sawyer.exe has stopped working here. Resistojet with another good with a good question earlier as well, saying, is it impossible to catch a cold, for example, while up in space? I guess they have to be sure the astronauts are the most healthy they can be and have backups in case a swap is needed. I mean, from what I've read from astronauts that have been up there and ones that I've spoken to, it is gross, the ISS. It stinks. It hasn't been able to be aired out in 25 years because there's no air to air it out. You've got all these people living in it, all their germs and grossness, and it's just grown and manifested over 25 years of not really being able to clean it. In fact, one of the experiments that they actively do is continually doing swabs on the walls and different surfaces of the ISS to see what grows on it, because it's kind of nasty. But I mean, there's also the entire pre-launch procedure that they have to try and prevent people from bringing it up, right?
Yeah, they go into isolation. So when you see the astronauts loading into their Dragon, for instance, like everyone around them will be wearing masks. There are people that are isolating as well to be in close contact. And even as media, when we're like attending the walkout, it's not like we're out there able to shake hands with them. No, they're kept a distance away. Everything with the goal of making sure they don't bring any sort of bacteria or illness in any form to the space station. Now, one of those things on the things that they were monitoring for spaceflight were respiratory infections. That's one of the few things that would be more maybe contagious, but they really try to limit it as much as possible and keep the astronauts as healthy. And that isolation is a key part of it. That's why those health officers are in constant communication with them before, during, and after. We see when they're returning, they immediately are getting assistance in walking and are seen by medical personnel then as well. Like, everything's with the goal of preventing any sort of illness on the space station, because they do have that medication up there, but they've got a limited supply of medication. They have to send up medication. You don't want to be trapped in a building that is floating around the Earth and be sick. So they do everything they can to prevent that.
Exactly. By the way, I kind of want to do some research after the show now of what those swabs actually come back with. I guess that would explain all the no, because that would probably explain all the bacterial infections and the skin infections and things that were listed on that medical paper of, hey, here's things they happen in space, because it's gross up there. Let me thank some more people and we'll move on here. Drew Nar saying Sophie tastes like jet fuel.
And what does jet fuel taste like?
Yeah, I have so many questions about how you know that. Telstar86 saying launching lunch on a rocket sounds like a waste of funding. It better be a good sandwich or maybe a ton of bagels with no burnt bacon. Now we're talking here. But again, bagels make crumbs in space, so they don't have space bagels. There's no spagels. Is that
correct?
Is that the term for it? A spagel?
A spagel.
I was going to say, Dee's face already showed disappointment. I was waiting for Max's. There we go.
Yeah, I
Spagel.
think
A spagel.
Yeah, Spagel. Space Bagel.
Good lord.
no, just no.
Ugh.
With a, well, I guess it would be a spread of cream cheese because it's a space spread. So anyway, sailing, saying the station was down to min crew after the shuttle grounding from Columbia. Right, at that point though, the station was only really crewed by 3 people because it still was not fully built. Of course, you had crew exchanges that were done by the space shuttle at that point as well. Then they moved up to, I believe, 4 when shuttle was going on. Then shuttle ended. It was kind of back down to 3. That's when they eventually got it to a point with power positive that they could get up to 6 people on ISS. And then once Dragon came and it had the 4-person capability, that's when you were able to finally have the 7-person crew that we're used to seeing on the ISS. So it has been 3, but it's been a while. It was mainly 6 crew members, and then obviously they went up by 1 person. Why is 6 and 7 in every freaking spaceflight thing today? Goodness gracious, they went from
Sawyer, it
6 crew
stops
members to
being
7.
funny if you just ignore it.
I'm not trying to be funny. I hate it.
Just don't point it out. If you don't point it out, it stops being funny. It's just 2 numbers.
I genuinely hate that this is still a thing in 2026. Shazbert coming in with a $10 super for the medication fund for EJ. We'll have to see what's in his emergency med kit to help get him better. And Space Pope saying bless this trench and EJ2 with a $50 super chat. It's hard, it's still weird to say that that's the usual $50 super chat from Space Pope. Thank you so much for that. Of course, we will be keeping track of when that ISS crew return actually happens, and if they move up Crew 12, you can keep an eye on all of that with the NSF socials. Of course, as soon as we hear anything, we will update you on that on X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, all of those. We'll keep you updated as soon as we know anything, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on that return and the Crew 12 schedule. Let's see here. So we have a bunch of exciting things coming up. Of course, when Crew 12 launches, we'll see. One of the things that they addressed with maybe moving Crew 12 up earlier is the fact that, hey, Crew 12 is already earlier than it was supposed to be. Crew 12 was moved up because of Artemis, because they wanted to give enough dates and times for the Artemis program to be able to launch sooner, which I believe the no earlier than date is currently still scheduled for February 6th. I don't know what is with my mouth today and my brain. They are not communicating with each other. Someone please help.
Relatable.
But we are getting that much closer to Artemis. Where are we at, Max, with Artemis 2? What's going on?
Yeah, so we are in theory under 1 month away from our first attempt to go back to the moon in about 53 years, which is very exciting. But as I've said many times before, it almost feels like this is kind of snuck up on us. As for updating where we are now, as we saw just late this morning and into the afternoon, Crawler Transporter 2, or CT2, was moved from the crawler yard and stationed over by High Bay 3, which is currently where Mobile Launcher 1 is, and also, of course, the Space Launch System, which is what it is going to carry the Artemis crew of 4 back around the moon. Of course, the crawler is what is needed to bring ML1 and SLS all the way out to LC-39B, which is about a 3.8-mile journey, if my memory serves me correctly. As we can see, actually, a photo of Mobile Launcher 2 on the screen, Kevin. That's Mobile Launcher 2, which is going to be launching, hopefully, SLS Block 1B, which is what is going to have the exploration upper stage instead of the ICPS. Currently stationed, which is what supports Orion. But as you can also see, there is a Crawler Transporter 2 on the left side of the image, and then on the right-hand side, that is a water truck that sprays down water onto the Alabama River rocks, which is what the Crawler Transporter needs to traverse over, and that is the only material that can hold the very, very intense weight of the crawler and actually and keep it moving. that is needed to keep dust from forming, and also making sure that the surface is stable. But we saw it move out today. They moved it rather uniquely. So if we have like a bird's eye view looking down towards the VAB and the path to get from the crawler yard and down the crawlerway and back into High Bay 3. So essentially, it has to do. Say here's the VAB, here's the crawler yard. It has to move all the way out and then come in. The crawler transporter can move in either direction, and there is actually a driver cab on either side of it for that purpose. You can't just pull a 3-point turn in a vehicle that weighs, I'm not even sure how many tons. It's many tons. It's actually certified by the Guinness Book of World Records as the heaviest self-propelled vehicle in the world. You can't just pull a 3-point turn in that. I think its top speed without any payload on it is about 1.25 miles an hour, maybe closer to 1.5. But with a Mobile Launcher 1 and SLS on top of it, it can travel at a max of 0.75 miles an hour, which does not seem very, very fast at all. But as we saw many times in the many rollouts and rollbacks of Artemis 1, it goes by you faster than you think, especially for a vehicle and a structure of that size. It's incredible. But I actually have not checked if it's actually rolled inside yet. Last I checked, it was stationed outside. Maybe they'll be rolling it in tomorrow. I can't tell, and it's tough to see with the LCC behind me because that obstructs the view towards High Bay 1 and High Bay 3. But we are, in theory, around 1 week away-ish from a potential rollout of SLS out towards Pad B. And we say allegedly because there's still no date that we know of when to happen. As we can obviously see all the hardware in place being prepared for a roll, but we still don't have an exact time or date when that's going to occur. Other than the targeted launch date of currently February 6th. There's a lot to get done before then, and that is why there is a bit of maybe pessimism towards that launch date, because not only do they have to roll it out, they have to perform a full wet dress rehearsal of the vehicle over at the pad, which is where they fully tank both the core stage and the ICPS to make sure that all of the GSE or the ground service equipment aboard the mobile launcher and also in the tank farm are good to go. This is where they ran into a plethora of problems during Artemis 1. I believe there were 3 separate wet dress rehearsal attempts, maybe 4. Plethora of issues, and there is a lot of room for them to catch something that is awry or that hasn't been checked yet, primarily because the core stage being used for Artemis 2 did not go through a green run over at Stennis or an engine firing like the core stage for Artemis 1 did. That it hasn't been checked in that sort. So there is room to find errors or leaks or hardware that doesn't quite fit. Although, given the fact that the core stage has been inside the VAB since summer of last year, they would have found major problems by now. But of course, they have not flowed either LOX or hydrogen through it yet, especially through those pesky, TSMs or tail service masts, which are those 2 structures at the base of the rocket that actually connect to it and fuel it with both propellants. So, bit of a rocky-ish road to go ahead of Artemis 2, or maybe not rocky. Maybe that's just being pessimistic. But there are certainly a lot of unknowns, and NASA hasn't really been the most forthcoming with information regarding what is coming next, other than from what we can literally observe and not what has been actually released to the public. So we're waiting. We might be a week or so away from rollout. We might be more like 2 weeks. We're not exactly sure, but they have publicly said that they were around 2 weeks at the time of that post on X, that we were around 2 weeks away from rollout. So fingers crossed. We'll see what happens, but there is a lot left to do, and it's certainly far from a straight road ahead to Artemis 2.
Exactly. I mean, the big things that we're still also waiting for confirmation of is the flight termination system readiness, because that's going to be one of the key things because of the timing of it. It's extremely time sensitive. So once that gets in and fully checked and ready to go, that's really when the clock kind of starts of they're on sort of a month-ish deadline to get that off the ground. So we'll see. As we saw with the last one, though, they can now finally go out and adjust it if they need to, but obviously they're going to try not to, right?
Yeah, They are going to do as much inside of High Bay 3 as they possibly can. I know one of the more time-sensitive measures during Artemis 1 was once they actually installed and activated the FTS, or the flight termination system, on the core stage, they had about 21 days until the batteries either had to be swapped or recharged, and that could not be done at the pad. The entire thing had to be rolled back to High Bay 3 to have that serviced. I believe they have a method or a plan in place to service it at the pad should they need to this time around. Although I don't know in detail what exactly that is. I'll have to ask Philip Sloss about that one. But that is there's a lot that is super time sensitive, but thankfully they don't have to deal with the actual wavering issue that they had with Artemis 1 with the SRBs, for example, being stacked for over, was it a year or 2 years? And that they were only certified for X period of time, and they had to get a waiver to actually certify them to go beyond that, which wasn't a big deal in hindsight, but still kind of a pain. They aren't there yet with Artemis 2, and granted, they have really until April to launch it with before things get kind of spooky, or maybe not spooky, or before people start getting annoyed with how long it's taking again. So whether or not a launch will actually happen in February, we'll have to wait for a good wet dress rehearsal and find out. It could go very well, and they could end up launching in the first week or week and a half of February, or they may end up pushing into March or April. The window, I think, in February to launch in is only about 5 or 6 days. So time is certainly of the essence, and only they're being theoretically around 2 weeks from rollout to launch is certainly optimistic.
That's a nice way to put it, optimistic. And Alex reminding us, I was kind of alluding to there, that you actually have the capabilities to access the flight termination system out at the pad now, which was one of the changes from Artemis 1. And Mighty Unlikely was asking, are there any other publicly disclosed fixes, quote unquote, that NASA has implemented with the GSE, the ground service equipment, since Artemis 1? I don't think we really have heard anything, D, have we, of what they've done? It's kind of going to be here they are at the pad, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think we've really heard much. Hopefully, as we get closer to this rollout, that's when we'll start getting a whole lot more communication. But we have not gotten much to this point.
Yeah, it's been very quiet on what they've been doing. Of course, it didn't help that we had a government shutdown in there that basically meant, hey, we don't get to see all the pictures from inside the VAB during that time, or the work that they're doing in that time. So that definitely doesn't help. Another interesting thing that came up as well, and this is very important for people that are going to be out there for launch viewing. This is going to be, I'm sure, an extremely popular event that people are going to. In fact, yesterday I was in the car and I was on one of the Sirius XM radio channels, the satellite radio channels, and the host was just like, hey, we're going back to the moon next month. In case you didn't know, and he goes into this whole spiel about what Artemis 2 is and SLS, and goes through all the crew members, and about that they're not going to land, they're going to swing by it. I'm like, I'm amazed. It was just some random, 60s on 6 was the channel I was flipping through, and then it was like, and now here's the doors. It's like, what? It was so cool.
We either way, whether it happens next month or not, we are very, very close to our return. I think even if we are 2.5 months away from launch in actual, that's still not that far away. It's really not. And we were saying last summer how the time between the core stage arriving at KSC and the launch itself is going to fly by. And sure enough, snap your fingers, and here we are, maybe 1 month away from the first launch attempt. Especially here in the world of spaceflight, especially here at the Kennedy Space Center and the east coast of Florida, there's this like weird time dilation where time just moves ridiculously fast, whether you are paying attention or not. Maybe that happens because also we're having a lot of fun, and time flies when you're having fun, of course. But it seems like yesterday that the core stage just got here, and here we are. I think we were actually hearing call-outs before the Starlink stream earlier about some service platforms inside of High Bay 3 being pulled away, and I think those may have been some of the, if not the last ones. So Yeah, dude, it's getting close. And to see, I call it Big Orange sometimes. It's going to be great to see Big Orange rolling out of Bay 3 in way too long. Borderline 4 years since we last saw it roll out. Or it's been almost 4 years since we saw it roll out for the first time back in March of 22. Don't do it. Don't do it.
One second, Sawyer.
Sorry, I think you're muted.
So the
sorry, I was going to say, there we go, I'm back. So we were talking about the viewing, and this the whole point I wanted to bring up was that the Cape Canaveral National Seashore, which is part of Playa Linda Beach over there, made an announcement that they are actually not going to be open for Artemis. In fact, starting January 31st is when they are going to be closing Playa Linda Beach basically completely. Hey, it's me again. So be prepared if you're coming down and you want to go to Playa Linda, because it is very, very close. It's apparently too close. So yeah, don't go there. And again, even if you're coming, there's a launch on like February 1st or 2nd, whatever, before Artemis. Yeah, don't go there. It's going to be closed for all of that and will remain closed until the day after Artemis launches. I know the fishermen who use that beach are going to absolutely love that, right?
yeah, so it's closed the whole way starting on January 31st. So they're having some slight hours adjustment before that point, but then on the 31st until at least February 6th, and then they say, or until the day of a successful launch, it'll be closed. So even if you're just looking to see it on the pad or enjoy the beach, you are not able to do so from the Playa Linda beach itself.
And it makes sense, of course. I mean, on paper or just looking at the announcement, it might go, oh, bummer. You might go, oh, bummer. But if you saw, like, with the ML and SLS stationed at 39B, and you're at Playa Linda Beach, it's not entirely uncommon to go, oh, we're actually really, really close. This is a really bad idea, or would be a very bad idea to watch the launch from here. Not only because it is... The BDA for SLS might be around 3 or 3.5 miles. I mean, when you have a core stage full of hydrogen, which is one of the more explosive propellants, it is a quite dangerous vehicle to be around in combination, especially when you light these solid rocket motors and that humongous exhaust plume that comes out of the flame trench on ignition, as we saw during Artemis 1. I think during Artemis 1, from some of the bird's eye view cameras or from some of the onboard cameras aboard SLS looking down at the pad, I think the actual exhaust trail coming out of the trench was around, if not close to, like 1 kilometer long. So it's kind of scary. So you might think it's kind of a bummer, and in some sense it is, but it's way too close for comfort.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a photo because I was able to, for Artemis 1, was able to catch a Falcon Starlink launch that happened while SLS was out at the pad. So it's a shame that we're not going to be getting those. I'll see if I can get that to you in a second, Kevin. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But again, as you saw from that video there, if you're trying to figure out, hey, where can I go to see a rocket launch? We, of course, have that, how to view a rocket launch video on the NSF channel. Just remember, again, Playa Linda will not be an option for it, and expect there to be massive, massive, massive crowds. It's going to be busy.
So I think you were talking about on the Flame Trench last week, Sawyer, how some of the hotel rates around here have been stupid.
Yeah, they're like $900 now for hotel rooms for those couple days before and after. So be prepared.
And if we're being realistic here, there's a good chance that this does not happen on February 6th, and it could happen either later in that window. So there's plenty of room for people to either be able to extend their stay, and for hotel rates to remain spiked. I mean, there's always that room in there. Everyone knows like what they're doing. So it's difficult to be highly flexible during a mission like this because it is so expensive and there's going to be so many people. I mean, we didn't see the crowds outside of the Space Center here for Artemis 1 because we were literally on center here. Like we can't see outside. But I remember for DM2, I was out to watch DM2 just out in the Banana River, and or the Indian River, excuse me. Just for that mission alone, the crowds of people going down 528 or lined up on 528 was absolutely insane, and that was for a launch pad 10, 12 miles away. Now imagine the crowds not just along Highway 528 here, but also in the port, in Cocoa Beach, at Jetty Park if it's open, and especially coming up the river here, up through Port St. John and into Titusville especially. Oh my God, there's going to be a gargantuan number of people. So please be ready for crowds, and please do your research on how to handle and where to go, because it's going to be intense.
Yeah, for Demo 2 as well, I was up by the Max Brewer Bridge here in Titusville, and there were people out there from the night before, all through launch, and of course that one delayed on its first attempt, and so even the next night, that bridge was totally crowded entirely. It ended up getting closed down. There's no driving across that bridge at a certain point. It just went to pedestrian-only traffic. And Demo 2 was a huge mission, but I mean, humans are going back to the moon. This is a big deal. I fully expect large crowds, lots of people traveling for Artemis 2.
Yeah,
100%.
And,
oh God, who's that?
Hey, I don't know. I don't know who that was. Some guy. Look how young you were.
I wasn't even. It's only been 2.5 years, so I just have a beard now.
I know. Look
and
how
I'm
young
also
you were.
a little bit heavier, but it's.
That was the one, by the way.
Way older.
That was the one, by the way. The first shot, and that was the one I took of the one launching with Artemis in the foreground. But also, Drew and I are pointing out in regards to the ground systems, they can now probably, depending on what it is in terms of fuel, do a quicker turnaround because they have the LOX upgrade that they did out at the pad. So just worth noting.
Oh,
that.
True. Very true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Now let's go through real quickly before we move on to the next topic here. When launch? When do you think?
Oof.
Do you think the 6th?
No. No. I hate to be a pessimist here, but I don't think it's launching in February. Just given how much potential there is for something to go wrong or to find a problem, especially with the wet dress rehearsal. I think it's going to take them, if not 2 or 3 attempts, like Artemis 1, because even though it was a brand new mobile launcher and a brand new untested vehicle at that point, and you might think everything since that launch has been vetted, but you have to understand how much of a beating Mobile Launcher 1 took during Artemis 1. I mean, the elevator doors were literally blown in, and that's not even including the actual damage that was occurred, or that occurred to any of the umbilicals or the TSMs or the tail service mounts that connect directly to the core stage itself. Highly unknown. There's a lot of room to find errors here. So I think if we're being realistic, it'll launch in the March window. Selfishly, I'm hoping for April, because that's when the window becomes daylight, and we would love to see SLS launching in daylight, because night launches are cool. Don't get me wrong. And SLS is the brightest rocket to fly from Florida ever. But we already saw it once. D, I know you also went through the entire campaign with Artemis 1 and how miserable that was, especially for attempt and launch 4 or attempt 4 and launch. It's kind of I'm trying to be nice, but we've seen SLS flight night before. So just selfishly, I'm hoping for a daytime window.
I am specifically hoping for a sunset window. Just little bit before sunset. Let there be some light out here so we can get the shots with the illuminated vehicle during flight. It's not like we're only seeing flame, but we have the nice side lighting. We've got the cool shadows. We're not dealing with some harsh overhead lighting and the awful heat distortion. Let's go for an evening.
Artemis jelly?
Oh my gosh.
Definitely possible.
That would be wild.
Definitely possible. Because of these solid rocket boosters. Yes, please.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to agree.
Solid Bloom's gorgeous.
I don't think it'll be February 6th. I don't think it'll be early February. Maybe late February, maybe March, but I'm not going to count anything there as a done deal for when it will or won't launch. Like,
Yeah.
we just need to be ready. And we are pulling out all the stops for the coverage. Like,
Yes,
there-
we
there's
are.
there's not going to be a camera unset for this mission. I mean, we've been talking about this mission for years. I feel like.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yes. Kevin, would you like cameras? Would you like lots of cameras?
I like cameras. Yeah.
Well,
All of
will you be able to take feeds from all of my cameras? Because I can give you feeds from all my cameras.
Yeah. Just give me all the cameras. Yep. All of them.
I'll give you all the cameras. Yep.
Okay. Cool. We'll also have NASA feeds too. So like, in the end, we'll probably have more feeds than we normally have for a Starship launch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
This
I don't
will be a
know if-
lot.
if-
I hope
don't
our
know if we
infrastructure
can
handle that.
Yeah, I don't know if we can disclose how many like fiber feeds that NASA is going to be sending out, but it's a lot. Like, it's staggeringly, it's a lot.
Yeah. How many cameras? Yes, exactly.
All of them.
Yes, all of them.
I'm gonna hope for around my birthday, February 18th. I'll just leave it at that.
Does that even fall in the window? think
I
it
don't
does.
know, but
No, it doesn't. It's outside the window. It's outside the window. I'm sorry, Sawyer.
Oh,
Wow.
well, fine.
I hate to
We'll
break
go
your
March. Anyway, continuing on here, let me thank some people first. Oliver Redmond. Oh, geez. Since EJ isn't here and Sawyer is slowly going insane, thank you. Max and D, can you give some Sawyer impressions, please?
Absolutely not.
Really?
I think we already do enough of that in our pre-show and before we ever go live for like Starlinks and stuff. Don't know if that's something I want on air.
I'm not gonna do too many impressions. I don't know if I've done impressions on air before. Have I? Can y'all think of any time I've done an impression?
You have.
According
you
to EJ, all you got to do is, what am I, chopped liver? So there you go.
Yeah, but that's his take though. I
Yeah.
can't copy EJ.
That's an
Is he wrong,
EJ
though?
impersonating Sawyer impression. That's not a Sawyer impression.
Got
That's a
point
very
there.
specific. And I'm not gonna impersonate EJ without his permission.
Oh, I would.
Oh, I've totally done it.
I would too,
totally
but not
would.
on air.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Drew Nar saying, to answer your question earlier, jet fuel tastes like vodka. The laxatives give it the orange flavor.
Oh my god. Yeah, actually, it lines up because actually completely unrelated. I think it was the Tupolev Tu-22, the first iteration of it. They used the coolant they used was like 60% ethanol or 40% ethanol, 60% water, which is basically vodka. And they had issues with the crew drinking it. But I digress.
I was wondering where you were going with that. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Weird time.
Chromatic gifting a red team membership. Mr. BME gifting 5 red team memberships as well. Thank you so much for that. And Gareth asking from earlier, speaking of ISS power, are Crew 12 trained to do the solar array EVA that Crew 11 are not doing? They are trained to do any and all necessary spacewalks up there, so I'm sure that they have training on that. And yeah, the spacewalk they were doing obviously was postponed given the whole illness thing or injury or whatever it was, the medical issue. So they'll be ready to do it.
I was muted, but hey Sawyer, do you know what you're
Yeah?
trained to do?
Merch plugs?
Oh my god.
Hey, I am. And always be plugging, you know what we say, and that includes everything going on over at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Kevin, what are we plugging today? Today, we know it's today because of the calendar. The NSF 2026 calendars are indeed now shipping. It's not a pre-order anymore. They are on the way. So you can get your spaceflight calendar, your generic spaceflight. You can see there, we've got some stuff all the way up from Norway, which I believe D has some part in. We've got some of the flame trench shots there, which I believe is some max shots. There's one of the Falcon going in front of a flag. That's my shot. All of those are in there. And of course, we have the Starbase calendar as well, if that's more your cup of tea, which we're going to be getting to momentarily. And of course, all of our other awesome merch is there. Someone did ask, will there be a patch for Artemis 2? No comment. But yes, there you go. You can see this shot actually from Max of SLS Big Orange right there, which you can now get as both a metal print and a poster. So all of that is at shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
That
Speaking
was a
of
great
things
segue,
that
wasn't it?
brilliant, couldn't have done it any better. Speaking of things that don't really have dates to them, Gateway. Just really quickly, it's worth mentioning in the as we're talking about Artemis stuff here, it's worth pointing out that apparently NASA's the power and propulsion element for Gateway has finally been powered up and is getting its testing done. So this is out in California. NASA finally announcing it today, the whole project managed by NASA Glenn over in Ohio. Basically, this is the one that's going to provide the power, all of the communications, the attitude control, and being able to maintain and maneuver between the different orbits that Gateway is supposedly capable of once it goes into its disgusting near rectilinear halo orbit. I mean, it's beautiful orbit of near rectilinear halo. Of course, it's gorgeous. So in that photo, that is the one on the right side of the screen. You see that antenna kind of poking up there? That's the module. There will also be these little tiny thrusters, these 12 kilowatt electric propulsion thrusters made by L3 Harris that are going to be added to it. That is the next step. They have those ready to go, and 4 6 kilowatt BHT 6000 thrusters, and they are in the process of getting the rollout solar arrays, the ROSAs, onto it as well. And again, you can see the ROSAs there on the right side of the screen. Everything surprisingly coming together. We have a module turned on, but will this thing ever fly? We love Gateway, don't we?
Love it.
Dee, what do you think? Will we actually see this this piece of hardware fly?
No. I want to see it fly, sure. But I don't think we will.
Wow. Max?
No. There's against just with Gateway itself, there's already too much of a case against it for it to really make sense in the long term. I guess the big case going for it, obviously, if Jared is really pushing for a moon base before 2030, it would help to have an orbiting station around the moon. It just would not be the most ideal to have one in a near rectilinear halo orbit, because that's not as nearly as easily accessible as a low lunar orbit is, as we saw during Apollo. So it's also a lot more difficult just to get to in general. I guess to start, it requires a lot more delta V than compared to low lunar. And Orion can't do that. Orion needs help. So, yeah, I want to see it fly. I really do. I want to see all of this come to light. Please don't get that mixed up. I really do. But there's an ever-growing case against it, especially from a cost and timeline perspective.
I mean, yeah. J-Volt pointing out, though, didn't Gateway get a boost in funding recently? I mean, is this something that maybe they still can use just in a slightly different orbit than this near rectilinear halo, and the ability, we can go further out and around with all these different thrusters that, again, they're supposedly working on?
Yeah, the only issue is the South Pole has become the main focus of where Artemis wants to go in terms of where on the lunar surface, primarily because there could be water permanently in the permanent shadows of craters there, which would be big, not just for a water supply for life support, but also for making fuel. So you can really only get there serviceably through a near rectilinear halo orbit. So I'm like, I say no confidently, but realistically, I'm like 60-40 it won't, to be honest.
I mean,
it's a very confident 60%.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I mean, obviously, with the orbit, things like that, we could just send Starliner as the crew vehicle, right? Nothing.
The silence is deafening.
Like your jokes are normally like, I'll say your puns are normally like cringe. That one was just like
Sad.
not even worthy of a response.
It's sad. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Zap fan with a very interesting question, saying, could this module be docked to something else to power it into interplanetary space? I mean, it's worth noting they're not these huge, big, giant thrusters. We're talking these relatively small-ish electrical thrusters, which do admittedly look very, very cool. But I don't know. Do you think maybe there's a purpose? Because I believe is there one other module that we know is absolutely built that Talzalania built? If I'm remembering rightly? Because this is the thruster, by the way. This is the actual firing of one of the thrusters that will be on Gateway. I like this one. It's just boom.
I mean, in theory, yes. And one of the main benefits of these kinds of thrusters is that they can fire for a very long time. A very, very, very long time for a continuous acceleration. The downside is they don't have that much thrust. I don't have the numbers or the stats off the top of my head, but it's borderline, like it's hardly any. Like you would barely feel it if you were on station. But that's not really the point right away. It's if you're firing over an extended period of time, like 6 to 8 months, just strictly for example, or even longer, that is acceleration continued over 6, 7, 8, 9+ months into years. And over time, obviously, you gain tremendous speed. The problem is we don't really have any sort of architecture to go there yet, whether it be to Mars and stay on Mars or go beyond. So they will have their place, but there's just nothing yet to be able to reasonably support them except Gateway. I think, just to be honest. But
Don't these thrusters look really cool though?
I heard an echo, and I'm like, is God about to speak?
Look at that rendering, though.
They look so cool. This looks like the future.
Kevin, you know what would make it look even cooler?
If they actually worked.
Well, yeah.
Kind of a
like,
big point
if it flew, if it's a real photo, like so many things, like everything looks great when it's a really nice render.
But the thruster video was real.
Yes, that video is way cooler than this render.
Now just use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it would be nice if we actually got to see them on a vehicle. If nothing else, hopefully, at least we get to see those type of thrusters used on future either interplanetary or at least, lunar transfer style vehicles. That would be nice, because I mean, I think this looks gorgeous. I like the idea of a lunar station, but right now we can barely get 4 people around it, let alone come up with a permanent station there, which, a reminder, would not be permanently crewed. This is one that would just have people come and visit it for about a month at a time, rather than the ISS, which has been continuously crewed since, for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Imagine how bad Gateway would smell after it's 20 years. We were talking about the ISS and how bad it smells and all that. Like, how does it compare if you've got people constantly living or intermittently living in an orbital station?
I don't think it would smell much different, honestly.
I mean, I don't think it would be as bad. The only issue might be just lunar regolith floating around if you're coming back from the surface, because that stuff apparently is like glass.
Yeah. Well, also it would smell a bit like gunpowder, I think, in that front. So, like it would smell like dust. So, I don't think I really don't think it would be much worse, especially if it's seeing a lot lower crew traffic than what the ISS does, especially over a long period of time.
Yeah, that's my thought. Fewer people hopefully would mean fewer stank, but I don't know for certain. Which apparently there is a perfume. I think DOS is the one that actually has it in NSF that is supposed to represent what space smells like. And from what I've heard, it smells absolutely atrocious. So I'm intrigued. It was either a perfume or a cologne or something that smelled like it. So we'll see. Also, Crafty Geek coming in saying, thank you for a week starts on Monday calendar version. Yes, we've heard all of our European friends and some Americans that still hate that the week starts on Sunday. We do have the version that starts on Monday as the week as opposed to Sunday, so you're very welcome for that. And that is both for the regular calendar as well as the Starbase calendar, and I should just say Starship calendar, because Starship has a lot going on both parts of the Gulf, both the Texas side and the Florida side. So let's get into Starship. This has been the week of the quick disconnects from the looks of it. Over at Starbase for Pad 2, we saw them roll out the quick disconnect arm for the ship on a launch pad that is almost done, it feels like, at this point. I mean, they rolled it out. They were able to then lift it up and actually attach it on to Tower 2 over at Pad 2. There it is. That is the quick disconnect arm extension from right before the turn of the new year. And then here we go into 2026. They were finally able to roll it out and bring it up over at Pad 2. From what I am told by Ryan Weber, in terms of the completion of Pad 2, basically it just needs 2 more hold down arm doors, and at this point it is almost done. We finally are getting closer to seeing Starship version 3 launch from Starbase, and the fact that, well, we will actually have a completed tower that it's able to launch from. Of course, they're continuing to do the demolition work over at Pad 1, and this is from our latest summary video, which you can check out with commentary in multiple language options. Das doing the commentary on this particular one. I love the description, Kevin. It's Ship QD week, like Shark Week, only not. Brilliant. But yeah, this was the rollout, and then this was on January 6th, just the other day. They were able to lift it as well. So exciting things over at Pad 2. And yeah, that's not the only pad that has a quick disconnect arm on the move. Finally, we're seeing activity happen over at LC-39A here in Florida. The QD was rolled out to Pad 39A. I believe, Max, you were originally out there. It kind of caught you by surprise, huh?
Yeah, I was just here. I literally just wrapped up from the stream we did with the NASA press conference yesterday about the Crew 11 situation, and just finished packing up. I literally was just driving out, and I was driving out to where we see everything make a right hand turn here to come by the VAB, and I see that there's police in my lane, like right in the center, coming slow. I'm like, oh great, more hardware coming through. Great problem to have here, by the way. But I couldn't tell what it was. I couldn't see the booster transporter. I couldn't really see. I couldn't see much that I recognized. So I pulled off to the side, and I'm looking. I pull out my phone to zoom in, and I realize, oh my God, that is the Pad A ship quick disconnect arm finally rolling out, and you can see it now rolling past your screen here, or will be here in a second, coming in from your left. Went right by me, like right as I was leaving. Like the timing could not have been better. But yeah, one of the items at Pad A that has been amongst the most eagerly waited on, I think, besides the launch mount. I think this pad is just it's coming together very, very quickly now that work and resources and manpower have been moved to make sure that it is so. I mean, Starship in Florida really is the long-term solution, and Starbase can only serve or hold so much. So that's why Florida is the long-term solution. So it's great to finally see progress here happening like this. I mean, we were waiting on this for a long time. And now hopefully by our next flyover, we will both see SLS over at LC-39B, and we will hopefully see this lifted and mounted in place over at Pad A.
Exactly. Drew Nar pointing out this is the SQD right now, the slow quick disconnect, given the roll being at the speed that it's at. But yeah, and apparently it's already being rotated a little bit to be ready to be fully installed and lifted onto Pad A. So I mean, we're finally getting towards Starship Block 3 here, both in Florida and with things going on at Starbase. So I guess the question is, when Flight 12 and when Florida Starship? While we're in Florida, let's start with Florida Starship. Do we think that
Oh,
this kind
God.
of accelerates things a little bit closer now? Do you think this is a huge step forward, or is it still more of a ship hardware issue than a tower issue?
I mean, we see it at Pad 2 and Starbase. I mean, this is like, what, 3 to 5 months-ish behind Pad 2? I think to tackle when Starship in Florida, we first have to tackle when Flight 12, because we currently don't have any facilities here operational that can support Starship construction, either on the super heavy side or on the actual ship side. That will come with Star Factory 2.0 that SpaceX is still awaiting approval to begin construction on. They are well underway with their very own Gigabay construction here, which Starbase also has one as well. But it's weird that the one in Florida is going up before Star Factory, the Star Factory here, which you need to build Starship. So it's not too far off to believe that the bay here will be first used to just store vehicles rather than support construction. I could be wrong on that, and maybe they'll find some way to build them. I don't know. But I think for Flight 12, I wouldn't rule out March as much as it might conflict with Artemis 2, and I might be just eating those words. As much as it might conflict with Artemis 2, March doesn't seem entirely out of the question. I would say by the end of March, we'll see Flight 12, and if all goes well, we should be seeing the first elements for whatever flight ends up being from Florida, whether it be 15, 16, 17, whatever it is. We should see the hardware first being moved here by barge in summertime. If not, maybe like late spring. So I think at that point we'll see launch maybe August, September, maybe October. I think is probably the more realistic timeline. But I think for Flight 12, March for the first flight from Florida, call it early October.
D, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Flight 12, March, even April time frame, if I'm being really pessimistic, but I would say March. I think for Flight 12, and I want to say late summer for Florida, even though that is an optimistic take. I think, like, we know that they're gonna have to barge in the vehicles at first. So I think we can expect to see at least Flight 12 and 13 before we see anything in Florida. They need to get Block 3 launching. They need to see some level of reliability. Yeah, and you know, they're not slowing down here. We talked about it a bit earlier, how like 39A, they're doing Falcon Heavy missions, and they are doing prep for Starship, which some of that prep for Starship is happening seemingly right now.
Yeah, literally right now. As in, you could see on your screen there, we were talking about how they rotated the quick disconnect there. It looks like it's moving.
That's why I went like this to my screen all of a sudden, because it's like I can't tell if my eyes were deceiving me and that's just the right hand chopstick, or if that's actually the ship quick the SQD arm going up. I think it's, oh gosh, I have to sneeze. Don't sneeze. Please don't sneeze. Okay, I'm not going to sneeze.
Bless you. So now it won't happen.
Thank you. Yeah, that's literally the SQD arm going up right now. I can like barely see it over these bright lights here, but yeah, it's going up. Like, it was just rotated. I think it was being rotated like during the Starlink stream. If not, that happened like just before that. But we thought this was going to be happening tomorrow and not tonight during the dark. So maybe it's a trial one to see how the crane will behave under that load. But yeah, it's going up, which I was not expecting. Also, in the back channel, we're also getting word that there is a fairing on the move toward the press site right now. You can actually see it. Yeah, almost. Oh. It's not in focus. It's there. It's somewhere in there. I can also, through my headset, I can also hear it, because the actual fairing transporter makes a very loud noise, like a very loud vacuum almost. And I can hear it just off that way. So, I mean, this is why we say this is the spaceport that never sleeps, because even at 7 p.m. on a Friday, there's still plenty of activity happening here. So, yeah, we might see a fairing roll by here pretty soon in just the next few minutes.
I love how
that never sleeps.
I love how both of your heads synchronized as we talked about it. You both looked off screen to see it IRL first in person there.
Yeah, it's just
I was
like,
"Is it
fairing.
moving?"
Where?
Well, no, when it
Yeah.
came to the arm, it was like, oh, it's moving.
Oh,
Yeah, and
was
I
good.
looked over and I actually can't see it from my perspective. Max, we're kind of opposite ends of the press site, and so I have a little bit more of like the trees and shrubbery towards the bottom of the tower from my perspective at like the edge of the field. You've got a little bit more elevation, and of course those cameras that you're looking at here on Space Coast Live also have some more elevation.
Yeah. But it's totally breaking news. I'm surprised Kevin hasn't pulled the breaking news stinger out yet, given that this is
oh God!
happening
Don't
live.
give him ideas. Don't give him ideas. There it is.
Oh my gosh!
You had to say
You
it,
had
Sawyer.
to say it.
Of course I have to say, this is breaking news. This is legit breaking news that they're actually lifting the ship quick disconnect, it looks like, here over at LC-39A. And, I mean, this is happening right now. This is cool. And, of course, you can keep watching over at Space Coast Live, too, on your other tab, on another screen or something. Don't close this. And don't close it, because we also have Twist coming up this week in Spaceflight in just a little bit.
And what was it we were seeing during the start of this Starlink stream before it? Because they were doing some stuff with the quick disconnect then as well.
I think that was just
Yeah,
rotating it into position, right?
Yeah, they were having it so they had the LR 11,000 onto its main structure, and then they had a smaller crane off to the side, as Ryan was explaining, just to help make sure that it moves where it's supposed to under load. So it was being rotated first, and obviously now it's. I can't tell if it's gone up anymore, or if there's or if they're just holding it there for load testing, because it seems very odd to be lifting it for installation at night. I could be completely off on that, but that seems interesting, or if not off.
At night,
it's,
like from SpongeBob.
What? It's Friday night. They want to get done. They want to go home, have a weekend, right? They
Oh.
like get it over with.
SpaceX never lets you have a weekend. Come on.
No,
Yeah, fair.
it's SpaceX. You know.
Speaking of the cranes, some other interesting crane developments going on. Of course, you'll notice this is the LR 11,000 doing the lifting. Remember the big old giant LR 13,000, that big old yellow one? It's not there. In fact, it is moved. It has now moved over to Space Launch Complex 37 over at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station side of things, and they are starting to assemble it, as we've been able to see from recent satellite imagery, courtesy of our friend Harry Stranger that he requested, and we're able to finally see the work is ongoing now at 37. And there was some really interesting info as well about where it's located over at 37. There was also some FAA documentation that came out around the same time that it was moved over. There it is. You could see sort of towards the top left, a little bit cropped off. There's the yellow. There we go. There you can see it. That yellow crane area being built over there. Some of the documentation shows that where they're actually going to be using that crane is totally different from where we saw in the environmental impact survey. So they mentioned they will be using the LR 11,000 and the LR 13,000, but this spot's a little different from what we're expecting. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not where the towers are supposed to be. At least the first two. I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. This completely baffles me. Because they've already got the plans approved for what they wanted to do with the first couple of towers, the first couple of launch towers. But I'm baffled. Genuinely, I have no idea. I literally I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys,
I
can you
mean,
help me? I have no clue what I'm looking at right now.
that's the crane it's disassembled
it?
currently. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
here.
it's treads,
disassembled.
it's weights on the back. I'm sure there are like arm sections and all that, but it's yellow pieces of infrastructure in many pieces.
I
Yeah.
have no clue what I'm looking at. I'll trust you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They haven't put it all together yet. It's not fully assembled, but they moved the pieces over so that they can build it over there and start working on 37. And then once that one's done, they'll do the same thing with the LR 11,000, lower it, take the parts over to 37, and then kind of set it back up again to start stacking the tower segments there. So you're in the right spot. Don't worry. But yeah, the spotting for that is interesting of where that crane is. You could see there. different spot from what we're used to seeing. And the official documentation that they proposed for this is basically saying that this is set to happen at least until January 23rd, 2027. We'll see if that actually happens. But they're hoping to have all of this done in a little over a year. And it looks like they're starting construction on the towers there based on this paperwork on January 23rd, 2026. So in the next 3 weeks or so, we should start seeing actual construction work with that crane going up and things happening over at 37. It's getting exciting.
It's going to be an action-packed flyover when that happens. I'm just going to say it. Like, that's going to be an epic flyover.
Oh, yeah. And we absolutely plan on doing it. There's the fairings, by the way.
There's the fairing. It's right there. Just made the right turn.
Well, Max, I don't have visibility on it yet. Do you have visibility on it?
I can just see the traffic lights where it just made the right turn. It'll be here in like 3 or 4 minutes, if that. The fairings actually move pretty quick. I keep looking at my laptop camera for some reason, not you guys over there. Yeah, but it's right over that way and actively coming, as you can probably see. Well, because that's where you guys are. You guys aren't in front of me. I just see my camera right there.
Oh no,
your faces are right here.
I'm laughing at the pun token I'm giving Kevin right now.
Oh, geez. I didn't even read that.
It's faring very well.
Never mind.
It is.
Oh, my gosh.
Also, you can always tell when Kevin is the one creating the banners on the bottom because you'll notice there's a period at the end.
I wonder if you actually see it on my camera. I might get out of the way and see if you can actually see it. But actually, my table might be in the way. Yeah, this is why it's called the spaceport that never sleeps, and this is likely for the next Starlink mission, which is currently scheduled for. Is it Monday?
I believe it moved to Monday now, 6/97.
Okay.
I don't know. You can check next spaceflight and always keep up to date on when the next launch is, because that's where I'm going right now to double check.
Shameless plug.
Not shameless.
Not shameless. Correct.
No shame.
I'm sorry
yeah,
for not looking this way at all. I'm kind of slight distraction coming this way because it is always a treat because these fairings are massive, genuinely.
And I'm sure our team, including Alex, is foaming at the bit to see if we can see what the numbers are on the fairing halves because we do keep track of those too. I guess, yes, technically it is a shameless plug because I have no shame. It's not a shameful plug. There is no shame in my plugs. I don't know.
Wow.
Words are hard, okay? Anyway, here's the real question with Starship stuff as we're watching that go by. Yes, Alex is asking if you can get a look at the numbers. Speaking of numbers, Bill wants to know, what do you think they'll call it? Starship Launchpad 3 at Historic Launch Complex 39A?
Ooh. LC 39A-3. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be called that. I think that they're going to keep the Pad A name.
I feel like they have to.
Maybe. Sorry. There's a fairing coming this way. Slight distraction. Sorry.
Yep, I very much see it now.
Oh, do you now? Okay.
Yeah. From this perspective even, it still looks like a very large fairing. I would say I think they're still going to keep the 39A name for the most part.
Oh, there it is behind you. Now we see it, D.
Do I have to adjust focus?
You might just see it come through mine, like just.
There you go.
Like the very tip of it. I'm not sure.
D's got
it. I don't know. We've done a lot of speculation on what the names could be, because they could go for. I definitely joke a lot of the time about it has to be E West, so 30, or it should be 39AB because it's B at 39A. But realistically, it'll be like Starship at 39A and Falcon Heavy at 39A. Or the 39A Starship Tower. So it'll probably be something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just call it 39A.
Yeah.
If they don't specify which one. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, we're launching Falcon, from 39A Falcon, 39AF, or 39AS for Starship. I think every launch from inside those gates is just going to be 39A. Whether it's Falcon Heavy, Falcon 9, or Starship.
On that point, I don't think, Pad A would technically be Pad 3, but I don't think that they're going to call it that, excuse me. but that also opens the door to the possibility of 37 just being called 37. I mean, they've already called it. They didn't call it Pad 37. In a render, it was in the HLS update where we saw an HLS ship stacked on a booster in a render. The render itself was or included the name Pad 37. So I think it's just going to remain Pad 37 at that point. I don't think it's going to be Pad 4 or Pad 5. I think they're going to go back to what its name was back when it was first built, being 37A and 37B, and maybe even a 37C in there somewhere as well. I'm not sure.
I agree. I mean, I think that's going to have to be at least an A and B for now. I don't know if they're going to group the catch towers and the launch towers and just say that it's all, A or B for those. But I think that's a safe bet that they're going to go to the traditional Cape naming as opposed to the unconventional Starship naming of Pad this and that, and 1 and 2, A and B, East and West, something. We'll see if Alex is able to get the numbers on those fairings. Of course, we'll find out, I'm sure, once we get to Starlink 6-98 when that happens, because I believe that's what that's going to be for out of Slick 40.
Isn't it crazy that like 3 years ago we were like, oh yeah, Starship's eventually going to launch from KSC. Now it's like, yo, Starship's going to launch from KSC.
This
year. We're talking about naming schemes now.
This year.
Like, it's actually going to happen. It might not be this year, but...
Stay optimistic, Kevin. Stay
not
optimistic.
With that attitude, sir. Not with that attitude, sir.
Ryan Weber, Michael Reed.
Wow. Kevin Weber Reed.
Sorry, Kevin. But yeah,
somebody clipped that. Yeah, Alex in the back channel was like, somebody clipped that from Kevin. I think we should, and there should be a bet in place or some consequence if it actually does launch from Florida this year.
Oh, this is getting dangerous to say on air. Just saying.
I'm in favor of that.
You know, I will wager track of that
on next spaceflight.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. And there is 697. You see it on there. But yeah, Jakey here is like, I want your attention, human. He wants to watch This Week in Spaceflight with Alicia coming up in just a couple of minutes. I know, Jakey. I know you love watching Alicia too. We all do. She's great at this. It's not my annoying face anymore. So let me really quickly thank Anonymous here, going to the shop saying, I'm looking forward to seeing my next Starship launch. I was there for the last one and it was amazing. Getting one of the tumblers with the Starship TPS. Hey, Max, that's what you have on your desk.
It's empty now because there's no more water left in it, but yes.
And Daryl becoming a Pad Rat member. Thank you very much for that. Jake, please don't mute. I still need to be able to hear the guys. Thank you. And speaking of thank you, let me thank the people that are here with me today. Max Evans, thank you for joining.
Pleasure as always, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. We know you probably have better places to be on a Friday night, but thank you very much for coming here with us nerds and talking all things spaceflight. We will see you again very soon.
Absolutely. Also, D Wise, literally out in the field as well. Both the fields in the field. Thank you, D.
It has been an absolute pleasure. From my perspective, that fairing's about to pass in front of 39B right now. It's an active spaceport. You know, I'm in the middle of a field from a launch still. So it's been a pleasure. See y'all next time.
Yeah, can we not ignore the fact that, like 2 hours ago-ish, or 2.5 hours ago, there was a rocket launch from, like, right next to where you guys are?
Casual. Just another day in Florida, baby.
I was standing right there.
Jake, stop that. So in 24 hours, we've had a QD rollout, rotate, and almost start to be lifted. We had fairings roll by, and oh yeah, we had an entire Falcon 9 launch.
And mobile launch or crawler
and the crawler
transporter 2 moved toward High Bay 3.
You're right, yes. Can't forget that too. Also can't forget our amazing members, and in particular the launch directors and flight engineers who have the highest level of support. And of course, by doing so, you get your name here at the end of the Flame Trench, as well as all of our NSF Live events. A huge thank you to all of our team members, our supporters out there, our our membies. We love our membies, including for the pre and post shows, which we will have immediately following this on Discord for those members and for Capcom. Huge thank you as well to Kevin Michael Reed, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and making all of this come together somehow. I don't know how we make it come together. It's a wild show that we do here, and somehow managed to stay somewhat on the rails today. It was weird. EJ, we hope you feel better and get your voice back soon for the next one. And as the fairings roll off into the distance, I am Sawyer Rosenstein, about to also roll off into the distance. Let's all head on over now and go watch.
Real quick.
Breaking news.
What? NASA has tweeted Artemis 2 rocket and spacecraft rolling from the VAB to 39B no earlier than January 17th. It'll take 12 hours. That's the breaking news. Sorry.
There we go. Just updated. January 17th, roll out to 39B. We will see that. Now I'm going to roll out, and let's roll on out to This Week in Spaceflight.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equinox.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.